When I was a child, I was always thirsty for video games. It felt like everyone except me was having fun at a casino built on a faraway oasis. And Street Fighter 2 was one of the games that gave me the greatest fear of missing out. Back in the day, the fighting game genre that the Street Fighter series pioneered dominated the world, but now it appears to be in decline. It's not even my favorite type of game either now. Yet somehow, when Street Fighter 6 was released, it provoked old memories important to me. When I was young, it was during the dawn of video game culture in South Korea, while home consoles and arcades started booming. Video games were still like an alien, and my parents' generation had a very negative perception of them. I guess many kids of my generation would be like me, growing thirsty for gaming. So games like Street Fighter 2 existed somewhere far away like an unreachable paradise. Playing such games seemed like the coolest thing in the world to me, and I felt envious whenever someone talked about games wanting to join in. I remember one day I was waiting for the cram school bus and hearing someone behind me say, "If I knew the bus would be this late, I should have played one more round of Street Fighter before coming out." I was freaked out of that kid. You can play the game that freely in the house? I once had a Nintendo console at home for a short period. In Korea, we called it Famicom. I could play the degraded 8-bit version of Street Fighter 2 with it. I found out later that it wasn't even an official version. Anyway, my parents allowed my brother and me to play it for 1 hour a day only at designated times. Until one day, my stupid elder brother tried to sneak out to play early in the morning, which was definitely outside the designated time, and got caught by my mother. I woke up to loud noises in the morning and came out to the living room to witness the Famicom already smashed to pieces with a baseball bat. That was the last gaming console I owned until I bought a PlayStation 4 with my own money as an adult. Home gaming consoles were expensive items back then, and it wasn't common for my parents' generation to have an open mind to spend big money on such an alien machine. The Nintendo I had was quite an adventurous purchase for my parents, and it never happened again. So kids like me, without gaming consoles, sneak into the arcade with a few allowance, hoping to play a round or two at least. But the fighting games like Street Fighter had very short play sessions with a single coin, unless you're exceptionally skilled. And sometimes the game led to actual fights due to the overheated competition.
우리 청소년들이 즐겨 찾고 있는 전자오락실의 게임 프로그램들이 학교 폭력을 부추기고 있다는 그런 지적입니다. 대부분 일본에서 들여온 이 게임들이 지나치게 폭력적이기 때문입니다.
The adults' concerns about arcades were based on reality to some level. The delinquent teenagers who carried cigarettes often gathered around arcades, and we called them scary bros. You had to be careful not to play too well against them, or you'd get a chair shot. Of course, I never get a chair shot since I had no skills to win a round. Kids like me, who lacked allowance, skills, and guts, had to be satisfied with watching skilled players from behind. This was the Twitch streaming before the internet era. A few years later, like other families, we got a PC at home with outdated specs even for the time, under the pretext that it was for studying. I could play an illegal cracked version of Street Fighter 2 on it, but by then, the trend had long passed. No one talked about Street Fighter anymore, and for more people, games were just for killing time, not considered seriously. When I grew up and became a high school student, if I didn't become delinquent, I had to focus on college entrance exams. I also faced pressure to graduate from childish playthings like games and comics as I aged, even though they were originally adult content. So I had to keep a distance from them unwillingly. My parents said I could play as much as I want after I got to university. But I failed the exams and had to spend 2 more years to finally get into the university I wanted, or they wanted. When I was finally free to play, I could at last enjoy video games. However, by then, Korea's video game culture had shifted toward PCs due to their high penetration rate. Buying a machine solely for gaming felt like overconsumption to many people, while PCs that we could justify for various work and study purposes. It's strange that a PC was much more expensive than a gaming console. PC방 culture, which is something like the internet cafe, was widely developed in Korea. Gathering to play StarCraft after classes became almost a national sport. However, I wasn't that much of a fan of StarCraft, and only enjoyed the campaign missions. I preferred games like Diablo, where I could immerse myself in one character rather than taking on the role of an overseeing ruler from a distance like StarCraft. And most of all, I dislike competitive games. Since I didn't quite fit in with the local video game culture, I became accustomed to playing games alone in my room and got into Steam through Half-Life 2 and Left 4 Dead. Later, AAA titles like The Elder Scrolls and Mass Effect became my favorite games. These games were very important in my gaming life, but they were different from the games I had longed for in childhood. Street Fighter 4 was released on PC, but I wasn't interested in fighting games anymore. It gradually drifted away from me. However, when Tekken 7 was released on Steam, it felt different and reminded me of the long-lost feeling. It was like the Street Fighter. I didn't have a PlayStation and it was too hard to learn in the arcade. Finally, I could play it freely at home. I mostly played casually with solo play, but somehow I felt like one of my old dreams had come true. I guess we all have a list of childhood disappointments, things we lacked while growing up. The game consoles like the Super Nintendo and PlayStation were something like that to me. I could only rarely play in friends' or relatives' houses. Now I'm a super adult who can buy as many games as I want. After I entered the consoles for exclusive games like Bloodborne or Zelda, I now prefer playing on consoles over PC. I even sometimes repurchase the games I already played for hundreds of hours on Steam, just to collect the console versions. The convenience of just sitting in the couch and pressing a button on a wireless controller is nice. But more of that, turning on a PlayStation somehow gives me a sense of satisfaction, feels like an achievement. And now I have a game room, a large TV, PlayStation 5, and Street Fighter 6. Of course, I still feel stressed about competing with people. However, this game provides enough value with the solo campaign mode alone. Creating my own overpowered character who can use Hadouken, Somersault Kick, and Screw Pile Driver while having Ryu, Guile, and Chun-Li as mentors felt like fulfilling a childhood dream. The story's quality doesn't matter at all when you can throw Shoryuken at random passersby. Hey, there's cockroach in your pizza! The game's story mode starts with a question. In the times we'll be having launching rockets to Mars and self-driving cars, yet you still got folks out there using their fists and bodies to seek strength. I think the romanticism has always been related to the useless and the outdated. Perhaps there's some ancient DNA buried deep within us that still yearns for something more primal. The fighting game is an endangered species for now, but there was a time when it almost ruled the world. After Street Fighter's massive success, countless clones flooded the market. This dream stage where diverse characters, each representing their own martial arts or nationality, would clash with their unique techniques was fascinating. It wasn't just games, also there were countless martial arts movies and comics. Seemed like the world was captivated by it. Many boys might idolize strength in their youth, and I was no different. Growing up fantasizes about martial arts fueled by Dragon Ball, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and Street Fighter. Why did I get into this? I heard many nerds and otakus prefer martial arts over soccer or baseball. There could be many reasons, but for me, I love the disconnected feeling from reality. Because reality is often disappointing. Boys around me spent every break playing ball games in middle and high school, and they do it endlessly in the military too. I also played ball games like everyone else, but what really excited me was always martial arts. The 90s, when I spent my childhood, were still pretty rough times. Many kids had to grow up being exposed to a lot of violence. We had no choice but to accept it as a part of growing. I got beaten by my older brother at home, by teachers at school, and by bigger kids everywhere. Sometimes I fought back bravely, but being smaller than my peers, I was usually on the losing side. So I hope to learn martial arts and become strong enough to defeat bigger people like Jackie Chan or Jet Li. But my parents said, learning that stuff makes you stupid. Winning with that petty fight crap is meaningless. Just study hard and everything will work out later. They never let me train myself in martial arts. Looking back now, I realize they were half right and half wrong. Once you're an adult, resolving conflicts through violence becomes stupid behavior, so being good at fighting might be useless. However, the confidence that you can stand up and fight with your own strength has a profound impact on your inner self. I refused to remain small and weak forever. Though I couldn't go to a gym, I could train alone with my own body and practice with the kicks in the movies and boxing moves I saw on TV. I don't know if I could actually fight, but kids around me started treating me differently when I was able to do cool aerial kicks. I think that boosted confidence back then is what turned me into a martial arts enthusiast. I eventually did learn martial arts and boxing after being an adult, and I'm still training in kickboxing now. I still don't feel strong, but I love the feeling of improving from who I was in every session. For me, learning kickboxing feels more practical than shaping my body. I'm not dreaming of going pro at my age or getting into a real fight, but this activity still gives me a sense of utility. I think knowing how to do something with your body is important to us. You can't go to the market and buy frozen meals, but it'd be better if you can cook for yourself. Even when we have navigation apps, we still need to keep our ability to find our way around. Anyone ever lived alone knows that powerless feeling when household fixtures like plumbing break down and you can't fix them yourself. Sure, you can spend some money to call in a professional, but having minimal repair skills to attempt to fix yourself would be much more reassuring. You might ask AI to write for you, but such dependence might weaken your own thinking abilities. Of course, I don't want to fight anybody, but knowing that I can react in critical moments is like having a thick wallet in my back pocket, reassuring. And it made me calm. I was always anxious and lacked confidence in myself. It made me furious when someone was rude to me. But after years of training, now I know that the rudeness is that person's problem, not my weakness. I can feel connected with big guys like Zangief or Sagat, so I prefer relatively smaller and agile characters like Ryu or Chun-Li. I'm more used to emphasizing with the underdogs, and I like watching heroes face off against bigger enemies. In games with character customization, I like making the world-saving hero look like an unremarkable ordinary guy. I think I'm drawn to the trope of someone who doesn't look strong becoming a hero. Like Jet Li and Jackie Chan. Heroes who weren't born strong but trained themselves through constant practice and used their wits to achieve victory. I still want to see those kinds of heroes in action. I know Ryu has steel-like muscles and tree-trunk forearms, but compared to other fighters, he's smaller, more agile, and shows restrained movements. And this serious attitude of constant training of his mind and body still inspires me. Although it's a cliché model of a martial artist, it seems like his goal isn't to be the strongest but training itself. Maybe that's something we can learn from martial arts beyond just fighting. The sincerity and self-control. Sparring is not about winning. It's not like fighting, more like a dance. We can learn how to make peace with others by learning how to fight. Some people call video games violent and obscene. I know many games are about fighting, but it's not just for violence. The fighters in games and movies teach us how to become strong enough to oppose coercion and to help those weaker than us. They train themselves in Iron Will to prove their ideals. Victories over the tyrants gave me courage. Didn't we grow up just fine dreaming healthy dreams through them?